Hi, Andrew here from mynexttablet.com. Today with an unboxing video of the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 and Galaxy Tab S9 Plus. Alright, let's start with the unboxing of the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 and Galaxy Tab S9 Plus. They are available in Europe and the United States now starting at $799, and I'm sure they will be available almost everywhere very soon. So inside the box of the Galaxy Tab S9 we've got the tablet first. It looks very similar to the Galaxy Tab S8 and S7. Then we get an S Pen. This time it's a white one, and I think it's the first white S Pen I have. It looks quite nice. Then we're getting a USB-C to C cable, and there's no charger included, so you've got to buy one separately or just use one you already have. Then we're getting an eject tool here, and that eject tool is for the microSD card, but there's also a 5G version with a SIM card slot. And then we get the standard paperwork, a quick start guide, and the warranty stuff. And then over to the bigger S9 Plus, we've got basically the same here. The tablet is inside the box first, it's quite a bit bigger. Then we're getting an S Pen, this time it's the black one, another USB-C to C cable, no charger again, then an eject tool, and of course the paperwork, and that's it. Nothing else is inside these boxes. And as usual, a couple of hours have passed since I shot the first part of this video, and I already ran a couple of benchmarks, played a game, watched some YouTube, and surfed the web a bit, played a bit with the S Pen and so on, so I can tell you a little bit more about these tablets. By the way, everything I'm going to say about the S9 and S9 Plus usually also applies to the S9 Ultra. That one I will have for my final review, of course, but I just don't have it at the moment. So we are starting with the design, which is almost the same on each tablet. Here with the S9, we've got an 11-inch display, and the S9 Plus has a 12.4-inch display. So they've got symmetrical black screen bezels. Both have a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle camera on the front, just like the S8 series. And then on the back, we've got a metal body on each. I've got different colors here so that you can see both color options. I think they look quite nice. Both have metal bodies, as I said, and the Wi-Fi antennas are nicely integrated into the body so that we don't get any plastic part at the top or so, like we usually get with a bit of cheaper tablets. And what's really nice, especially compared to the predecessors, is that we are getting an IP68 certification here, which means that they are protected against water and dust, which is very nice to see on a tablet because it's quite unusual for a tablet. Well, like I said, they are both metal bodies. The S9 weighs 498 gram and the Plus weighs 581 gram. This is just 5.7 millimeters thin, and the standard S9 is a little bit thicker at 5.9 millimeters. But both are very premium feeling, and as you can see, they look very nice. There are a couple of differences compared to the predecessors, mostly with the standard S9. One difference is that on the back we don't get an ultra wide angle camera anymore, which the Plus still have, and it has a resolution of 8 megapixel. But both still have a main camera with a resolution of 13 megapixel, and both have an LED flash. And of course there's a place for the S Pen on both tablets, and the S Pen is always included, just as we are used to from Samsung S tablets. The S Pens are always included with those. If we go around the tablets, we've got two speakers on this side and two speakers on this side, and I already watched a bit of YouTube, and the sound quality is very good. They are fantastic entertainment tablets. Then we on both get a connector for an optional keyboard cover. There's a power button and volume rocker on the front, as well as a micro SD card slot on both. And both have a USB-C 3.2 Gen 1 port, which you can also use to connect external monitors. And there is a big new feature of the Galaxy Tab S9, which I will show you now. There's a fingerprint scanner underneath the display. With the S8 and S7, we got the fingerprint scanner integrated into the home button, but that one is not anymore. Now the fingerprint scanner sits underneath the display, just like with the S9 Plus and also the S8 Plus and also the Ultra S8 and S9. They always had the fingerprint scanner underneath the display, so that's very nice. Now for both tablets, for all three tablets, you can get an optional keyboard cover. Two versions actually, a slim one and a more heavy keyboard cover. But I didn't get them because I assumed they will be interchangeable with the previous generation, because the S8 and S7 series was compatible with the same kind of keyboard covers. But that's not the case anymore. They kind of fit, but Samsung has changed the design of the cameras on the back a bit, so they don't fit really properly anymore. And you can see the slim cover for the S8 Plus still working a little bit with the S9 Plus. It works, you can type on it, but it just doesn't sit properly on the back. And in case of the S9, it kind of sits, but not perfectly, but the touchpad and the keyboard don't really work that well anymore. There's a bit of stuttering and so on going on. So yeah, basically it means you've got to buy extra new keyboard covers, even if you've got the predecessor, which is a bit disappointing. And yeah, that's why I don't have the keyboard at the moment, but I will buy them for both tablets, of course, and then for my final review, I will be able to tell you a bit more about the keyboards. Now let's check out the displays. We've got a 12.4-inch display on the S9 Plus and an 11-inch display on the S9. And the S9 one is quite new because the S7 and S8 had an LCD screen, and now the S9 also has an AMOLED panel just like its bigger brothers. That's really nice to see, and that's also why there's a fingerprint scanner underneath the display now, because for that it needs an AMOLED panel on OLED panel. It has a resolution of 2560 by 1600 pixels and everything looks nice and sharp. It's a really nice display with great colors, good contrast, wide viewing angles, and of course it's really nice to see an AMOLED panel. Also, both displays, by the way, have a refresh rate of 120 Hz, which is what we want to see in a premium tablet. Now, this is the 12.4-inch S9. It also has an AMOLED panel, and in this case, the resolution is 2800 by 1752 pixels, also 120 Hz, and also it looks really nice. A big advantage of these AMOLED screens are great black values, of course. It doesn't look gray or dark gray like it does on an LCD, but it looks like a true deep black, which is always really nice to see on an AMOLED display. And with Netflix, you can watch HDR content, but also with YouTube. So both tablets support HDR. That's also nice. And yeah, they're great entertainment tablets because the displays are nice and the speakers are very nice. And now let's take a look at the S Pens. They're basically the same. In fact, you can use every S Pen with every Galaxy Tab S tablet, at least the newer tablets, because all the S Pen devices from Samsung are interchangeable, which is really nice to see, because that's not the case with Apple and Lenovo, and with Microsoft it is actually, but with Samsung it also is, and that's very nice. So the S Pen looks pretty much like the predecessor S Pen. What's very nice is that the S Pen never has to be charged for handwriting notes or for drawing something. For that, the S Pens never have to be charged. However, they still have a battery because they support gestures. For instance, you can use it as a pointer in PowerPoint and also as a remote in the camera app. And if you then, for those features, you need to charge the S Pen, and they are charged by placing it on the back of the tablets, and then they are charged inductively. But again, you really don't have to charge the S Pens for handwritten notes or something like that. It's just important to know that you don't have to really care about charging the S Pens unless you want to use some gestures or so. There are great software features built in. First of all, the Samsung Notes app, I think, is still the best note-taking app for Android tablets. It works really well, and it's just nice again to use a premium pen on a premium tablet. I've reviewed mid-range tablets. The last couple of tablets were mid-range tablets. And then if you then hold a like really nice premium tablet with a 120Hz screen, fantastic S Pen, it just feels nice to write on. There are some other features for the pen pre-installed, pretty much the same like in the last couple of years. There are these air commands, and with those you can quickly start a new note. You can take a screenshot and annotate it. You can use the pen as a magnifying glass. You can translate something and so on. It's a really well thought out features that Samsung includes here with the S Pen. They've been a part of the One UI for many generations, so there are no weird bugs. Usually it should work very well. And now let's take a look at the internal hardware. Inside all three tablets sits a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor, and then we get 8GB up to 12GB of RAM with the S9 and S9 Plus. And in case of the S9 Ultra, you can also get one with 16GB of RAM. And in these cases here, the storage can be from 128GB up to 512GB in size, and there are versions with 5G as well, but I've got the Wi-Fi versions. Now you can see my Geekbench 5 benchmark comparison here, which is very interesting because you can see that the S9 series is quite a bit faster than the S8 series, and also much faster than mid-range tablets like the Lenovo Tab P12 or Galaxy Tab S7 FE. It's also really interesting to see that these Android tablets now are faster than the Apple iPad 9 and also faster than the Apple iPad Pro from 2020. However, the iPad 10, the graphics performance of the iPad 10 is still a little bit better, and the iPad Air and iPad Pro 2022 generation with the M1 and M2 chipset are still much faster than all Android tablets. But you can see here that Android tablets are getting very fast as well, and Samsung is catching up quite nicely. And that also goes for gaming, of course. You can play PUBG Mobile with Ultra HD graphics. It loads very quickly, looks nice, and plays very smoothly. That's what we would expect. I didn't test any other game yet, but I'm expecting that Fortnite and Genshin Impact will also be able to play those with highest graphics settings. That should be the case for the next couple of years to come, since we've got a very fast processor here. And now we can look at the software on these Galaxy Tab S9 tablets. Runs Android 13, which is basically the same software that also runs on the Galaxy Tab S8 series thanks to an update already. And on top of that runs Samsung's One UI version 5.1.1. And what's really nice with Android 13, what was introduced with Android 12, is this little dock here, which basically is a taskbar when you're inside an app. You can see those apps here, and you can now quickly open two apps side by side just by drag and dropping. You can also place ones in free floating windows over it, and it's just really nice multitasking that Google and Samsung are bringing us with this taskbar here. If you want, you can still use Samsung DeX with a desktop mode, and it will be particularly handy when you're using this tablet with a mouse and keyboard. So I will certainly test that when I get the keyboard covers. But basically, I think you don't really need Samsung DeX anymore because of the taskbar that Google and Samsung introduced with Android 12L. And it's just nice to have and still very handy with a mouse and keyboard. And yes, you've seen the features for the pen already. Samsung has a couple of more features pre-installed and a lot of apps. They've got a couple of own apps that you can see here, as well as many of Google's apps. And that's it basically. There's Netflix and Spotify. Those are more ads that are pre-installed, but besides that, there's not much pre-installed. Oh, actually, I see here there's still some notes and LumaFusion pre-installed. LumaFusion you usually have to buy, so that's quite nice that it's pre-installed. It's a video editor. So I will also test that for my final review. But basically, compared to the predecessor, the software has not changed. Well, now we are at the end of my unboxing video. This is just a first impression. I now have to start to properly review the Galaxy Tab S9 tablets and also get the Ultra and the keyboard covers. And then, yeah, better subscribe to the channel to see my final review. But my first impression is very good because we're getting a premium metal body here with IP68 certification, which is very nice. We now have an AMOLED panel on the smaller 11-inch tablet, which is also very nice because that wasn't the case with the predecessor. We get fast internal hardware, nice screens, the fantastic S Pen, optional keyboard covers that I still have to test, up-to-date software, a lot of features for the S Pen, and yeah, my first impressions are really good. There's no big downside that I could see so far, except that the keyboards of its predecessors are not compatible, which is really a bit sad, but not a deal breaker. So yeah, first impression is really good, but I'm very excited to start my proper review now. Who knows, maybe there is some big deal breaker that only shows itself when using the tablets a bit more, and for that you should subscribe to the channel. Alright, so much about the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 series so far. If these tablets are a little bit too expensive for your taste at the moment, then check out my Xiaomi Pad 6 review. That one comes quite close to the Galaxy Tab S9, but is much cheaper.